and welcome everyone to Geek Archaeology for the week of December 22nd, 2017. So good to see you all as always. As I've mentioned before, we've got a fun giveaway later on tonight. I'll be doing the giveaway. And I got some reviews and news to do. I might try to do Otaku no cooking tonight, but with the new YouTube Live, I don't know if I can transition around the video stream. So we will see how that goes tonight. Not sure. How are you all doing tonight? What have you been watching anime-wise of late? Hope you can join me in the chat room here on YouTube Live, which is definitely a little different than what we normally do. I decided I would switch over to this because I did a quick sort of random YouTube live stream last week just to try things out a little bit and got some strong response from folks. So I thought for especially the last stream of the year, we would try something a little different. Hey, Game Escape. Hey, Richard just wrapped up Inuyashiki. Nice. What did you think of Inuyashiki? It's another anime on the list of stuff I want to watch. So much anime out there. You realize, William, now that you've hyped it up, I'm going to watch it and I'm just not going to like it. Like, you have set the bar so high, as soon as I watch it, I'm going to expect, like, the first second and every second thereafter to completely blow me away. So, I think this is just not going to be able to, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for me to live up to your expectations. Nadesco and Yu Yu Hakusho, nice. Nadesco famously voted Best Anime of All Time by New Type Magazine. Nadia, cool. Blazing Transfer Student. Haven't had a chance, I've watched the first disc of Nadia, the first 4 episodes of Nadia, and have not gone back and finished that. I'm going to try this coming up year, 2018, to get through a large chunk of my backlog. There's just a lot of anime out there that I have put on the list that I've not had a chance to actually finish. Broken Blade, that's another one. I have some of Broken Blade that I want to watch. So that's pretty cool. I have not been watching much anime, but I have been collecting. I got the Girls und Panzer der Film on Blu-ray. Also grabbed, what was it? Shin Godzilla. So not quite anime. Not anime at all, but looking forward to that. Watch the Anno cut. Interesting. I want to watch the Island arc. I'm curious what Anno did there. I mean, he was so raging against the Otaku machine. With the Island arc, I'm fascinated. Kingdom Hearts 1. Nice. I never finished Kingdom Hearts 1. Hello, Matt. I have not read the Homunculus manga. No, not familiar with it, actually. Yep, there's a Kingdom Hearts manga. That's true. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts, now that I think about it, there's really no anime connection to Kingdom Hearts. It's all Disney and video game characters. That's interesting. I would have lumped that into sort of, yeah, anime adjacent, but not really, now that you think about it. Why did I change the name of the channel? Mainly because of other stuff going on. So I also do a lot of tabletop role-playing game stuff. So I write a lot of stuff for tabletop role-playing. I've also been reading more science fiction and fantasy novels. That's much of this. These bookcases are sci-fi and fantasy. And welcome, Halifax. Glad you're here too. And so I thought, and so I've been maintaining those all as sort of separate streams and separate things. So I had a blog for the role-playing stuff and that kind of thing. And I was like, you know what? I really want to put all of these under one banner. I really want to have one place for all of my geeking out. And I also want to challenge myself to be as intellectual and thoughtful with that material as I am with the anime stuff. So I decided to kind of combine everything under one banner. Now this YouTube channel, you know, I don't really do a lot of other video-related stuff in my geek life. It's certainly not yet. So this is still, for the foreseeable future, going to remain an anime-focused channel. I might record a tabletop RPG stream, or or do a video review of something here and there. But the 95% of the content should remain anime stuff. But it's one of those things where I just thought it was time to change things around. The other problem is that Otaku no Video was a pun on Otaku no Video. So this is a classic OVA called Otaku no Video, and made by Gainax back in the day. And when they started as an audio podcast, and we were going around with what to name it, we went back and forth, and a friend of mine said, way back in this is like 8-9 years ago, we were doing an audio podcast, and he said, what if we call ourselves Otaku no Video, because we are audio only? And that was a great name. So we went with that, and then I came onto YouTube, and we used that name, and then I promptly moved to video. So it just, Otaku no Video never really made sense as a title. And that was fine, but I thought it was time to kind of come up with something a little more sensible. And Evan and I had talked about Geek Archaeologist. By the way, he can't make it tonight. So I figured it was time for to rethink about, we call it Geek Archaeologists. But the plans for that kind of fell apart. And so I kind of rethought about it and thought, well, Geek Archaeology. Archaeologists implies multiple people, but archaeology can be one person or multiple people. So it's a little more flexible. So that was that kind of inside baseball thing. I don't think names are all that important. I don't think what we call things are, calling something Critical Role is not really all that important to its identity. In terms of all the senses of what that means. I think you just kind of got to name things and have something reasonable. So, in terms of what I do here, it's not that big of a deal, but it has given me a good chance to rethink how I do things, rethink my processes, and come up with better ways of doing stuff. It's allowed me to do this better streaming rig. So I'm actually exporting at a good speed now, which is nice. Okay, so let's go on. Hey, Master Chief Snake, good to see you again. Lots of familiar faces here. That'll be an interesting project, Dr. Block. I'd like to see that, if that works. Inuyashiki, kind of rocky. Fair enough. Uniqueness of the main character goes a long way. Cool. That's good to hear. Certainly heard a lot about Inuyashiki. All right, let's do the news, and then we will move on from there. Not too much. Hello, Adam. So the giveaway will come a little later on tonight. Meanwhile, let's do some of the anime news. So welcome everyone to the anime news for the week ending December 22nd, 2017, almost the end of the year. A few little news stories to make note of. Funimation has announced that they have made available all 4 of Mamoru Hosoda's original films available for streaming on their site. They are all dub only, which is not too bad, depending on how you look at all that stuff. I happen to really like the dubs of these. So Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, and Boy and the Beast are all available now on Funimation for subscribers to Funimation's streaming service. So you can head over to Funimation.com, and if you're interested in those, this would be a good chance to check those out. Mamoru Hosoda, definitely a rising star in anime, particularly the anime movie biz. More news from folks about the new live-action One Piece TV series being produced in Hollywood. Let's see here, with Jump Festa, there was a video message from producer Marty Adelstein, who's working on a live-action Hollywood TV adaptation of One Piece. He's already said that they plan to make this a big-budget thing, and that he's actually been a fan of One Piece for many years, and he really wants to do it right. We now know that the new TV series will start with the East Blue arc and then, quote, broaden from there, end quote. So definitely moving forward with it. They have some definite plans for the One Piece TV series. We'll see how that goes. I don't know that they have a broadcast yet or where it's going to end up. I'm going to assume something like Netflix, but we'll see. So more information, and it does seem solid so far. Who knows? Another surprising announcement this week of a new, of a new Cutie Honey anime coming in 2018. Cutie Honey, a sort of genre-busting, almost medium-busting anime and manga from the 70s. There will be a new Cutie Honey series this 2018 called Cutie Honey Universe. And it is in celebration of Go Nagai, the creator, and a celebration of the 50th anniversary of his works. And so that's going to be interesting. The director worked on Photokano, the series composition by the writer of Urahara and Yu Yu Shiki, with Tsuyuichi Iseki designing the characters and serving as chief animation director. This artwork you see here is of Cutie Honey herself in various outfits. The thing about Cutie Honey is that she's kind of a quasi-magical girl, and that she's a teenage girl who's an android and can transform into various different versions of herself with different outfits for different occasions. And when she does so, her current outfit shreds to nothingness. So she's naked briefly in the anime series. So it's one of those things, and definitely a more ecchi series and concept. So we'll see where that goes and what we get from that here in 2018. Speaking of genre-busting stuff, The Rose of Versailles is getting 2 new chapters of its manga. Ryoko Ikeda will be premiering 2 new chapters in let me see here, in Margaret magazine. She's been releasing a few new chapters here and there over the past few years. So we're getting more Rose of Versailles. This is a classic shoujo story. One of the stories that arguably kind of created a lot of shoujo archetypes and stereotypes. So more Rose of Versailles, which is kind of surprising and certainly very cool to see a classic getting more material. Finally, some sad news this week. A voice actor on the Japanese side, Tamio Oki, passed away this week. He's probably best known as the voice of Aramaki in Ghost in the Shell, also known as Old Ape-Face in the anime series. He started working with Star of the Giants back in 1968, so he's been working in anime for a very long time. Also worked on A Dog of Flanders, Eureka 7, Heroic Legend of Arslan, the new Kenshin TV series, or OVA series, Wolf Children, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all the way up to 2016. He was working in the voice acting industry. So a legend is gone, and he will certainly be missed. So those are the major news stories of the week. Thank you all for joining me, and I will hope to see you next week and next year. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Let's be happy with me. Come on, try me.
冗談でしょ
I
ピン
want
クのビール
you want it be. You'll be happy with me. It's both
ビール感覚のライトカクテル B
you want it be. Let's
明るいうちから新発売 出てこいよ外へ一緒にやろうよ
Sports-minded wear, 80/20.
And we're back. Okay, so, hey Desert Fox, just trying something that's not Twitch this week. I'm honestly seeing how many folks I get on YouTube versus how many I get on Twitch in the chat. I prefer Twitch's chat because I can put it on the bottom of the video, but I'm getting a lot more folks on YouTube in terms of the chat, and I kind of value having folks to talk to, as you might imagine, which, yeah. Hey, Master Chief! Long time no see. Good to see you back. Good to see you here, as always. Nausicaa manga or movie? So that kind of depends. You know, the movie is a more condensed version of Miyazaki's views. The manga is unquestionably more complex and intricate, and is a much more subtle view on the various themes that he has in that story. So I think the movie is an awesome introduction to Miyazaki's views, and in fact I think Princess Mononoke kind of bookends that well if you want to go the anime route. But manga is definitely more in every dimension, right? So I mean, for me, the manga of Nausicaa is the most impressive work of comic writing and work that I have ever seen. Like, it is, if I ranked manga, it would be top of the list. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the issues with continuing to reuse these voice actors, is that some of them have been doing anime for decades and decades, and in some cases, like, you know, they want to work, but like their voices just can't keep up with them. Of course, some of them pass away as well, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, I was hoping I could grab that larger Twitch audience. You know, I would get a wider variety of people through Twitch, and that I would get, you know, it's different platforms, but certainly YouTube is giving me a much better, bigger chat audience as far as that's concerned. So we'll see. I might switch to YouTube in the new year. Switch back to YouTube Live in the new year. We'll find out. Also, it's easier for me with OBS now. I can kind of just do one or the other, so I'm not as locked in to one. All right, so that was that. Let's go ahead and move on to the review. And I will wait for this car to leave because it's got some ridiculous thing going. Got somebody outside who has got his music on incredibly loud. It's like, when I can hear your music from inside my house, you're too loud. That is just too loud. So 1 second while hopefully that guy drives away. Okay. And like I said, the giveaway coming up in a little while. First off, let's talk about this thing. Already. Welcome back to Geek Archaeology. Thank you very much for joining me, where today I'm reviewing not an anime, but a book about anime. This is Anime Supremacy, a novel, actually, that is about the anime industry, which is quite interesting and unusual. It is originally a Japanese novel written by a Japanese person, in other words, translated into English. It came out in, I believe, 2013. It's about 400 pages, so it's pretty long, with fairly large text, but this is definitely something that will take you a little while to get through. There are, this is not really a light novel in the sense that it probably falls into the light novel category technically, but it's pretty lengthy, and there are only, I think, 3 or 4 illustrations total in the whole thing. So I think it counts more as a novel. The story is about basically 3 different women working in the anime industry itself. One's a producer, one's a director, and one's an animator, but they're all working at different anime studios. And in some cases, actually I think they are all at actual studios. So you get to see the interplay. The producer's show is kind of rivaling the director's show. So there's a little bit of that. And then the animator is working for a company that animates for both of them. So you get to see a lot of stuff, we get to read about a lot of stuff having to do with how the anime industry actually works from a boots-on-the-ground, employee's perspective. The book is obviously very heavily researched. There's a lot of information about there, and I'll get to that in a minute. Lots of industry info, as well as some plot and story as the characters kind of develop their as time moves on in their careers, if you will, in their jobs. So the first half focuses very heavily on the inner workings of the anime industry and what goes on there. By the last half of the novel, though, there's a lot more plot going on, and obviously no spoilers here. But in general, you get a lot of kind of facts and figures in the first half, and then once you kind of understand all that stuff, they can kind of let the plot develop in the last half of the novel. The beginning can feel a little frustrating, I should point out, as the producer has to basically manage the director of the anime series they're working on, and the director is this kind of frustrating man-child character, somebody who is just very inconsiderate and one of these wunderkind kind of people. What's funny for those of us who are kind of more into these things is that the director is clearly a mashup of Kunihiko Ikuhara of Sailor Moon and Utena, and Hideaki Anno of Evangelion and other things. Mashup of personality as well as kind of career. So you get to see all that kind of stuff going on, which is a lot of fun. But because one of the central characters is this really frustrating person, there can be a certain amount, especially from Americans, of this, why are you putting up with this person? It's clear why, because the person is kind of a genius and is well known, but it's still off-putting, I think, to a lot of Westerners. In general, the characters and their relationships do feel wonderfully realistic, and that's actually one of the interesting things, is that the relationships of this are very strained a lot of the time. Working in the anime industry, there are huge, huge amounts of work to be done and huge amounts of stress. Trying to maintain any semblance of a normal life is practically impossible. And so when you want to talk with somebody or have a relationship with somebody or so forth and so on, it's just impossible to fit that in with everything you're trying to do. So I think the author does an excellent job of relating that and showing that without making it seem completely unrealistic, without making it seem like these folks are working so hard and so long that they're kind of machines in this cog. Now, granted, there is a certain element of that too, but it feels like real people in the real world, in other words. It's not, they don't go too over the top with it. I should point out, regarding the writing in general, is that there's one thing there, is that it does start with all these facts and figures, but it becomes a little more natural, if you will, later on in how the writing is presented. So, like, early on, there's a lot of bouncing back and forth between kind of info dump and dialogue. I have some problems with that. I don't think it's very deftly handled. That said, it's very hard to make any novel set in this very different environment, this very high-pressure environment, and this environment with all these different, how does animation work? What are the rules and what are the roles and who's doing what? All that, there's a lot to explain to the reader. So I don't know quite how they'd fix that, but it does feel jarring a lot. That said, the dialogue, in terms of writing quality, the dialogue doesn't vary that much from character to character. There's not a lot of a sense of one character speaking one way or the other, with a few exceptions. The Ikuhara/Anno figure does have this very specific way of speaking, and I should point out, there are 2 Zeta Gundam references within the first 100 pages. That's how deep it goes. There's one for Castle in the Sky, and it's just a line of dialogue that a character quotes. There's no, Castle in the Sky was an anime film by, no, if you don't recognize that line, you miss it. And that is very much the intention, that these are things that this person is just throwing out there. So, these are very much, this is very much a novel with very unusual characters in the sense that you have this hardcore otaku working as a director, and so the way he speaks is very different. Also, the way the animator speaks is rather different just because of her personality. Otherwise, in general, again, not a huge variety in voice, if you will. One thing that folks often complain about with anime and manga and in general a lot of Japanese stories is that there are often weird coincidences in the storyline, just strange things that just happen to come together. Fortunately, the plot in this does not hinge on any crazy coincidences. There are a couple of odd coincidences later in the novel, but they're minor. They don't, really change the plot remarkably. Otherwise, it feels almost painfully realistic as all these characters juggle these crazy hours and their demanding schedules and just trying to keep their health up. Trying to find enough hours in the day to get all this stuff done. It does feel like, again, real people in a real environment. Finally, I do want to talk about the translation in general. And this is one of the hard things. It's hard to tell what is awkward translation and what was awkward in the original that is being swept along in the translation. A lot of that factual material early on does feel jarring, jumping back and forth between info dump and conversation. Fortunately, nothing goes on for too long. You will have maybe a paragraph's worth of explanation of, here's the job of the animation director, and then you go back into the story. It does look like there is a little bit of that explanatory text added by the translator. I noticed a few things where I don't think they would have needed to explain that to the average person in Japan, especially when it's a cultural reference. Something about a singer or things along those lines, or how pop idols work. So that is certainly a thing that I cannot judge very accurately, but there's certainly some things there which I appreciated. Pretty much everything in there that they explained was helpful to me reading it, and again, you've got to make those translations. You got to explain those things that the average person in America would not understand. And do it in a way that works within the story as like a quick aside. So I think they did a good job there. No complaints. But there's a lot of this material that I think just doesn't that can feel jarring. It needs to be there, but it's just the nature of this beast. Overall, I read this book in one day. I just devoured this novel. Again, it's 400 pages. I found it very engaging. I really enjoyed the characters. Not just enjoyed the characters. I found the characters distinctive and engaging in the sense that I understood where they were coming from. I understood their problems, and I empathized with them. The novelist does a very impressive job of creating identifiable characters, even when they're in this industry that you're just definitely not a part of. So good job there. I think this is really, this works as a novel, but also more importantly, there is all sorts of information here about how the anime industry actually works. Facts and figures and information. And you can tell that there's a lot of research. In fact, in the back of the novel, there's, I think, 2 pages worth of acknowledgments, a page and a half of acknowledgments of different people in the anime industry that helped this author write this book. So it's definitely realistic, and so if you want to know more about how the anime industry actually works, this is a great resource for you. Hope you found that useful and entertaining, and until next time, I hope that you will be able to dig deeper into the things that you love. And now that that's done, I think I need a quick moment for a word from me. So, what are some of the other mediums you might be adapting? Light novels. So these are, again, about 200-page novels with kind of large print that have evolved over time as to have anime-style storylines often. So light novels are both a medium and a genre in a sense. In the same way that young adult fiction over here often has a fantasy or science fiction element. This is kind of how it's evolved over time. These tend to have kind of an anime feel to them, or a manga feel to them. And a lot of them get adapted into anime. So Haruhi Suzumiya, Kino's Journey, Supernatural Index and Railgun were both novels originally. And Book of Pop and Others was actually what started the trend. Boogie Pop was kind of the Harry Potter of this field back in, I think, the late 90s. It came out and really popularized this as a medium. When you're adapting a manga, it's a little difficult to figure out exactly what you're going to adapt, exactly how you're going to adapt it to anime. You think, the pacing of a manga does not necessarily match 26 episodes. You're going to figure out what of that story you're going to adapt and how it's going to fit into that amount of time. But you're also kind of limited because you already have this, the art and the story you're trying to tell. With a novel, you have a little more flexibility in terms of how much story you can tell. You can stretch and squeeze that more elegantly with a novel than you can with a manga, for example. This is one of the reasons they're a little more popular. Also, because light novels are short, and you don't have to draw them, a writer can write 2 or 3 light novels a year. That means that by the time you're done with one season of an anime series, you can wait a couple more seasons. By next year, there's enough material already written for season 2 of the anime. So it's a little easier to make that franchise go and drive over time. It's what's happened with Supernatural Index. They did like one season of that, waited a little while, did a season 2, then did Railgun, and meanwhile you had the novels coming out to kind of give you the material for that. Then you have video games as a adaptation. Oh, I should also point out that light novels, they almost always hire an artist for both the cover and half a dozen to a dozen illustrations within the novel of things that happen in them. And the advantage there is when you adapt to anime, you already have some illustrative concepts of character designs. These still have to be reworked for the anime, but it kind of helps you get off the ground. With video games are even more flexible. No one expects the plot of the anime to match the plot of the video game. So you've got to tell your own story there, but you already have your setting, you already have your characters. A lot of that groundwork has already been laid for you for the anime series. That's kind of a blessing and a curse in that there's more work to do, but you also generally have a much larger built-in audience for video games. Video games are big enough now that it just makes a lot of sense to make an anime adaptation out of those sorts of things. Then you have visual novels, sort of a split-off of video games that are significant. So if you haven't, has anyone here actually played a visual novel? Okay, good. So a visual novel is basically a choose-your-own-adventure story told with characters. Text and usually voice acting also is appearing as you go. So you get text and lines of dialogue and characters come in and out and basically act out a scene, although there's no animation per se. It's just characters appearing and not appearing. And then every so often you'll get a little choice, and you click on one of the choices, and then you go on from there. These are not unreasonable choices in this game, FYI. So visual novels are, they have a lot of advantages in that you already have character designs, you already have voice actors chosen, you already have storylines. It's much less expensive to adapt a visual novel to an anime because much more of the work has been done than adapting a manga or a light novel, things along those lines. And we are back. Thanks for staying with me there. Yes, the next season of Fullmetal Panic will be coming in 2018 with Shoji Gato. Gato or Goto? Gato. Shoji Gato will be supervising and writing all the scripts, which is very unusual actually for one person to write all of the scripts. And much of the staff will be returning from previous Fullmetal Panic projects. So that's good news. Spring 2018 is the current plan. Pushed back from, I believe, fall of this year. Could have been winter. No, I think it was fall. Yeah, then pushed back to spring. So here's hoping. I'm a huge fan of that franchise, and I will definitely be interested. I think from what I'm looking at, this might be the last anime series in terms of adapting the actual light novel storyline. Like I think I know he finished the novels. He came to an end with Fullmetal Panic. So we'll see. Hey Wilfred! Any thoughts on the Akira manga? Does it compare to the quality of the Nausicaa manga? Good question. So very different. I have read both. The Akira manga is certainly not as deep or complex as Nausicaa, because it's not working at that level. Akira is more of an action story, and it is more about how individuals cope with crisis, whereas Nausicaa is more about the politics of nations, and deeper questions about the nature, about how humanity deals with problems as a group. You know, how humanity should push forward with big existential problems. So it's very different. Akira, similarly though, just as the Nausicaa anime is just a small portion of the manga, the Akira anime is a small portion of the manga. If you like Akira, the film, definitely the manga goes way further, way deeper than the anime film does. But it's still, again, fundamentally more of an action story. I will also say that the characters in the Akira manga get much more complex and interesting, which is not a surprise, but there's a fair amount of time spent on the characters and their personalities in the anime film. And you get a much more subtle sense of those characters, and they do change over the course of the manga. Not completely, but some of them do grow, and they do shift around. I always forget, Kaneda versus Tetsuo. Kaneda is the one, Tetsuo is the one that goes crazy, right? And Kaneda is the leader of the bike gang, if I'm recalling that right. So Kaneda gets a significant personality change in the manga, in the sense that he's a little more goofy. He's a little bit more of a kind of a. It's hard. He's a little bit more of a punk kid, whereas in the movie he's more of this kind of respected older brother figure. You know, it's a significantly different personality in the manga, which I liked. I thought worked better for the role he had, which you know, that works. Let's see here. That was from Anime USA, that clip, which happened, gosh, 2 months ago, about. And we managed to record a couple of my panels. So I will be showing you bits and pieces of those panels over the coming months that we've been able to do. But yeah, the Akira manga, I mean, and I should actually also say, if you don't like the Akira anime, the manga might solve a lot of the anime's problems for you. It definitely feels like the story that Otomo was trying to tell, whereas the anime film felt like the story that he could fit into a movie, right? Not terrible, but that's the thing. Thank you, David B. Appreciate it. We will see how well I can live up to that name. Yeah, plenty of Sword Art Online material, no question there. How can you compare My Hero Academia and One Punch Man in terms of the superhero anime? I don't know, because I haven't seen either of them. I'm not a shonen guy. Those things do not hold strong interest in me. They are kind of somewhere on the list. One Punch Man in particularly is somewhere on the list, but it's below. Like I've got to watch Evangelion and Nadia and Utena and other things before I get to One Punch Man. So, yep, name change, new year, new name, all that kind of good stuff. By the way, this March will be, if I recall correctly, my 9-year anniversary on YouTube, if you count from when I posted my first actual video. If you go all the way back, you'll see some of the audio episodes we broadcast and just upload on YouTube. But my first actual video is from March 18th or something, 9 years ago. So I'm planning I'm starting to plan a little bit of a celebration for that. We'll see what happens. But that is coming up in a few months. Yeah, it's actually, I believe Ninja Batman will be a film. Yes, they are working on Ninja Batman. All CGI, which is interesting. Kind of odd. If you're gonna do anime Batman, why do it all CGI? I mean, they did Iron Man, but Iron Man was, the suit was CGI, but all the characters were animated. So I don't know. It was weird. All right, let's move on to the dramatic reading of the night, because that's always fun. This is, again, a slightly smaller one than I often do, but it requires a little bit of setup. And this is definitely one that will, yeah, kind of interesting. So, welcome to a dramatic reading of an anime post from 20 years ago this week. And this requires a little bit of setup. 20 years ago, we had the infamous Pokemon seizure episode. Yep, 20 years ago this week. So the news broke in America on the news groups, and folks started talking about this. Now, most anime fans were not familiar with Pokemon at this point, as you will find out. And that led to some discussion about what it was and what was going to happen. And so we're gonna see some conversations here that happened. This post is in reply to a larger conversation about what actually happened. The subject is Noise, Luka the Puka, Flash, was Monster Pocket connected to illness in Japan. Telesio writes, I just heard on CNN Worldview that hundreds of people in Japan fell ill after watching a scene in Monster Pocket where a character was flashing its eyes. Does anyone have anything to add to this? Anyone know where to get a more detailed account of the story? Signed, Jones. A reply. There is one possible explanation to this big red flash. 1. Due to the currency crisis affecting parts of Asia, this was an attempt by the Japanese government to purge the minds of its citizens, a la Neuralizer, so they'll have no funny ideals about pulling out their money out of the banks and stuff. Of course, this could also be an attempt by more nefarious elements to do some good old-fashioned mind control. Someone screwed up the programming sequence and causing the reaction with the kids. Remember that kids are way more perceptive than grown-ups. I wonder what were the instructions those red flashes gave to those who didn't get sick. Signed, Toon. Nothing is as it seems. So yes, Pokemon was definitely caused by mind control. Yeah, exactly. Men in Black, Neuralizer, that's where that came from. So it's really weird. I think, and obviously I can't tell if that's trolling or not. I mean, there's enough material on that news group that some people would actually say weird things like that. That could just be somebody having fun as well. It could just be, it could be a joke. But it was just serious enough and just enough on there. And like that person is not a regular on that forum. So to just kind of come in and say that as a joke seemed kind of odd. Who knows? That would be funny. Well, you say that. There was another conversation about Evangelion. And this was fascinating because there was this rumor that Evangelion was going to air on MTV. Somebody in the on that forum had somebody come into had somebody come into their store who was apparently a voice actress who had done some dubbing on Evangelion for MTV. He claimed. The head of AD Vision came into the news group, it came into the forum, and wrote this post saying, just to be clear, we own the TV broadcast rights for Evangelion plus everything else. We are not working on a TV broadcast of Evangelion anywhere. We're definitely not working with MTV right now. And the controversy was they had said it was going to have to be edited for MTV. And he said, we're not going to do that. Meaning, we would not edit Evangelion for television. We're just not interested in editing it for television. We'd love to put it on TV, but we're not going to agree to any edits. Whereupon Carl Horn comes in, who's a long time, not only anime fan, but worked in the anime industry for years and years, translated a bunch of stuff, and he comes in and provides his own experience talks about MTV airing Akira. And Akira, it turns out, was kind of on the table. MTV was not considering it, but the idea had come up, and Carl was talking to one of the programming people over at MTV. And interestingly, the guy said, we're not going to put Akira on MTV for two reasons. One is 2 hours, 2+ hours of our programming block is huge for MTV. And this is back when they were already moving over into doing the real world and stuff like that. But it was definitely 2 hours was a huge commitment. But also, as he said, I've watched Akira. This is the MTV guy. He said, and I respect their work. I respect the works of anyone who makes a movie. And the violence is clearly there for a reason. I wouldn't want to edit it. If I'm going to broadcast it, I would want to broadcast it either unchanged or not at all. And so since we kind of can't just do it unedited, he said, I'd rather just not broadcast it. And if people find it, they find the unedited version. So that was really remarkable. And Carl Horn's still around. He's still doing stuff. It's kind of cool that to see that kind of conversation out there. And there's a lot of those rumors flying around about anime being available or not being available. Oh, and by the way, the subject of that thread about Pokemon was literally Monster Pocket. That's what they thought the title was. So yeah, things were definitely different back then. And you're trying to figure out where to find anime, where to show it, where to broadcast it, where to consume broadcasts of it. It was hard to find anime, and the economics were definitely very different. People were thrilled to find a $20 tape of anime. That was incredibly cheap. So yeah. All right. Let us go ahead. And I am, let's see here. That was a dramatic reading. Can't do that, can't do that. So I will be back in a few minutes with the giveaway. Give me a few minutes. Let me check. Oh, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't have to switch everything around. Let's do the chat, or let's do the giveaway. So as I mentioned, I'm giving away a copy of the recent Blu-ray re-release of Otaku no Video, the one released by Animego. I think it was last year, the year before. Let me see here. Does it say on here? 2016? Yep, last year. This includes extras, English, color, grayscale, and SDH subtitles, 2 Japanese commentary tracks featuring Kikuko Inoue, Joji Murahara, Hiroyuki Yamaga, Hiroki Sato, and Toru Sano, English commentary tracks with Gil Poitras and Robert Woodhead, reconstructed high-def trailers, and line artwork in galleries. Plus, within this, you get not only the disc, obviously, you also get a poster, which I will try not to unfold too much. Oh, hey, we have a troll. Of Misty May, I think is her name, or there, with the names of all of the backers in there as well, which is really cool. So you can see all the backers of this on here, and if you look closely enough, I want to see if I can find, oh, it would be up here. Whoops. Yeah. If you look close enough, and if it'll zoom in, I think I recognize that name. So yeah, you get this. You also get a fold-out special piece of art featuring the characters. This is an original purely for this release. Not available in Japan, not available anywhere else. There's even a mini comic in here. It is, again, original to this release. This only exists in this version of Otaku no Video, plus a whole bunch of liner notes explaining a lot of the in-jokes. So this is pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. And even better, inside you get a reversible liner with cool art there of the various characters. So 100 minutes plus extras. I am going to give this to whoever's at the top of the chat in about 20 seconds. So if you want to be in this, you better be in the chat and have talked recently. And then you might get a copy of Otaku no Video shipped straight to you. So we'll look up there in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the top is Desert Fox. Congratulations, Desert Fox. You're at the top of the chat room. Desert Fox, you get Otaku no Video. That is your thing. That makes it pseudo-random. So go ahead and forget how this works. That's right, this is another problem with the YouTube chat. I can just PM you on Twitch, but I can't really PM you on YouTube, can I? So here's what I'm going to do. How to do this? I was going to send you my email address, but then yeah. Okay, so Desert Fox, email me with your mailing address, and I will ship out Otaku no Video to you, and that will be yours. You weren't watching live. Oh, that sucks. Well, you're a winner anyway. Cool, cool. All right, address, whatever. So that is that. Now, let me see here. So I was going to do a Otaku no Cooking, but it's gonna be really hard. Yeah, you know, YouTube delay is also an issue. That's another reason. That's another nice thing about Twitch is that the chat delay is less. But you know, pluses versus minuses. There's still a way to PM on YouTube. Let me just try something. Go to channel, put user and timeout report. So I'm just seeing moderator tools here. But yeah, we'll just have to live with that, and that will be fine. So, yep, that is cool. I wonder if I'm talking about cooking, but the problem is, so I've got this tethered to my PC, and so moving this into the kitchen is complicated because I think I'd have to restart the stream. Let me see. There is I can edit it, but I can't do anything else with that. I don't think I can't move it over here. So what we might end up doing is no, I don't have a good way of doing that here. I got to do some more experimentation. Hopefully by next week I will have a good way of transitioning the stream from, you know, one computer to another. But I can't do that just yet. So such is life. So instead, we're gonna have a Christmas special tonight because it is that time of year, and I just want to give something to you all here. So I think this is going to be our final thing for tonight. A shorter stream than usual, but that happens sometimes. That's okay. I'll be trying to expand the stream in the new year as I get some more stuff going. We'll see. But meanwhile, that's going to be it for us for tonight. I think Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. I think I am going to stick with YouTube Live moving forward. And I'll let you know in the videos moving forward. Meanwhile, and otherwise, thank you all very much for joining us. I hope you have a very happy holiday.
Christmas gone, but what a year. Now it's here, now it's here, bringing lots of joy and cheer. Tra-la-la-la-la. There is a Santa Claus. Christmas gone, but what a year. Now it's here, now it's here, bringing lots of joy and cheer. Tra-la-la-la-la. Oh! What's the matter in here, I wonder? Looks like a pretty gloomy Christmas for those poor kids. What can I do? Let me think. Huh? 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 Ah! Oh, no. Hooray! I've got it! Now for the surprise. Merry Christmas, everybody!